Do I wish it took longer? Yes. Do I think that's enough? No. However, did it bring a smile to my face all the same? Yes. Before I open this review of chapter 322 of My Hero Academia, please do me a favor, leave your own thoughts on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Now, let's get into it. What's up, guys? I got Pencil, and here we are to review chapter 322 of My Hero Academia, which is known as Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite. I still don't like the name. I don't care. Like, just make it Dynamite, bro. That's all I'm saying. But regardless of that, let's hop into the chapter itself. So we do see that Midoriya knows he needs to let go. He needs to get out of there. He needs to keep it moving. But he just cannot muster the strength. And I think this is a great twofold thing here. Because Horikoshi, see, Horikoshi with the subtext and the actual text and like the layers to this sentence. Oh, I like it, Horikoshi. You are spitting right here. Because the two reasons why he can't muster the strength. One is just the physical reason. He is super tired. He probably used the last of his energy to manifest Fajin, manifest all the power, 45% one for all, and proceed to manifest Black Whip to use the slingshot. He probably is out of physical strength. The man has been running for days on end with no nourishment. Dude needs to take a nap and needs to go to Arby's. But not just that, he can't muster the strength of will. Like I mentioned it last chapter, and I think it's very important to note. In terms of true friends, Ida is probably the first true friend that Midoriya made, period, in years, if we're being completely honest. He was abused at his school, he was abused by Bakugo, and the only reason they're still friends is because they're now rivals. And I do think that their relationship should have been a bit more antagonistic on Midoriya's end, especially once he got his power. I do believe that in terms of first friends, it really is Ida, and this is what matters the most to him. So he cannot muster the strength of will to say no to the first person who really accepted him after all this time. That wasn't Uraraka, of course. I think that's super important. I love how Midoriya like sort of just breaks down here. Like he's like, man, I really just can't let go. But then we get to this whole situation where it's like, yo, can I land safely? Because Ida realizes, oh wait, yeah, he's given up. I've caught him, and yeah, we need to land. Darn it, didn't think this through. And luckily enough, like Uraraka, I feel like zero gravity would have made it even worse, because if Ida tried to like direct themselves, they would have directed right into the ground at max speed. At least with gravity, they can like sort of alter their trajectory. So when Uraraka lets it go, it's also very interesting to see how Uraraka lets it go. Like it seems to be when she says release, like things actually seem to stream off the two of them. I'm not sure if that's a detail that's new or I just never noticed about Uraraka's powers before. I never noticed like things could pop off. But regardless of that, I love the way Horikoshi like drew this panel. I'm just talking purely about the paneling too, because like he draws their meteor like descent with a curved panel, and like I don't know, it's very, very cool. And I love how like Ida's face even gets bent into the final curved panel, so you see nothing but his eye. Like I don't know, Horikoshi is like, man's been super experimental with this arc, with his paneling, his art style, how he's drawing characters, in comparison to one another. He's been popping off art-wise recently, and this man needs a nap. Like, we're talking about Midori needing a nap, Horikoshi needs a nap, and like a break, and like a lot, essentially. He also needs more money. But regardless of that, we do get to see that Kirishima came out the clutch. He caught them both, and not gonna lie, like, I could get Ida surviving this because he's in a tank of art, but even then, like, I guess they're both super durable. Because really, with no amps, Midoriya crashing into an unbreakable Kirishima at the rate they were moving should have killed that man. But regardless of that, ignoring that, they are all superhuman, so they probably ate it just fine. It doesn't even look like Kirishima's an unbreakable, which is even more impressive because they were moving pretty darn quick, even with gravity like added back to them. That should make it even worse because that kind of momentum is wild. But regardless of that, you get to see that Midoriya, they got him, they got my boy. And then I keep calling him my boy, but like I'm only recently like appreciating Midoriya's character more. For all y'all Midoriya stands out there, they got your boy. And let me be honest, let me be factual, let me be straight up. But regardless of that, we do get to see that your boy was right. I made that video like 2 weeks ago at this point. Is it 2 weeks ago? I'm pretty sure it's 2 weeks ago. Or is it wasn't last week. That wasn't last week. Yeah, that wasn't last week. 2 weeks ago at this point, where I talked about how Midoriya's character hasn't changed. And we get to see it. Like Horikoshi is like sort of poking at us with that himself, when how he says that Kirishima heard about a kid who was his age all that time ago who rushed in to save his friend quote unquote, from a villain. And he automatically assumes that that was Midoriya, because Midoriya in that same moment is acting the exact same way right now. Like, he's not caring about himself. He's willing to sacrifice everything for his friends. And he's like, yo, chill out, bro. You've been the same character for over 300 chapters. We need you to chill, develop a little bit. Let us help you out. Come on now, dog. But then we get to see that in terms of the planning of like putting Kirishima there, it was just pure coincidence. Like, there was nothing that, well, technically I bet it wasn't pure coincidence, but at the same time, no, that was definitely just luck, because there's no way Endeavor could have predicted where they were going to land, how they were going to land, or even what was going on. I refuse. I mean, maybe Endeavor's brain is that massively engorged that he could predict that, but I don't think so. Pure coincidence. Coincidence? What is my coincidence? That definitely makes a lot of sense. But regardless of that, we do get to see Mina comes up the clutch, and honestly, I'm kind of shocked that she didn't mention her dancing interest, but I guess that's the one thing the two bonded over. But in the end, it doesn't even matter, because she tried so hard and got so far. No, I'm sorry, but regardless of that, we do get to see that Mina wants him back. Everyone wants him back, and Midoriya, once again, like, he's low-key spitting, and I love how he draws Midoriya in this panel. Like, I've been seeing a lot of, not a lot, but the way that the eyes are just pure white, and Midori himself is like covered in darkness. And look at how he still has Black Whip popping out. Like, the man's still ready to escape. He's like running on pure autopilot. He's not, I feel like he's barely consciously doing anything anymore. And then he finally, after trying to argue that he can't go back because of everyone, all the people at UA and how easily they die, have All For One showed up and said, hey, Midoriya, you have one for all. I have all for one. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's combine and take over the whole room. And by the room, I mean the world. And I mean, let's kill everyone. Like, that's what I mean. So I get what Midoriya is talking about here. But obviously, bro, you just ain't swole enough yet. And the thing is, we get to see the final, like, nail in the coffin. Like, the real gun. The person who opened it up. Like, he opened up this entire Class 1A versus Midori scenario, is finally being the one to come out and close the door on it. Because Bakugo Katsuki, Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite, aka him, we see him pop up. And he's like, yo, dog, let me level with you real quick. I'm mad sorry, bro. Like, that's legitimately this entire conversation, but it could go more in depth. I'm not gonna just be like, oh, he just said he's sorry, bada bing, bada boom. But I love what Bakugo and thusly Horikoshi did here. He mixed everything that I think makes My Hero Academia great in order to formulate this moment in particular. Because he took the society of people with quirks looking down on people without quirks. He took the inferiority complex that Bakugo had for Midoriya's natural heroic mindset in comparison to his own fake one, which was born through just superiority. He took their whole entire time progression over the years. He literally draws them as kids, draws them as teenagers in their, no, not even teenagers, when they're middle schoolers, gets them to the high school age and brings us back to the modern era. And I love how in every single one he's flexing his art chops, because every single Midoriya is bruised and beaten and torn down, because that's something that Bakugo did to him. That's something the world did to him. And it doesn't matter, just because Midoriya right now is seeing like the actual physical after effects of being this, like all the mental abuse, all of the stuff that has been bearing down on Midoriya for all these years inside his head is now being reflected externally, and Horikoshi portrays that purely visually and also through dialogue, but purely visually through how every single Midoriya from the youngest version of him that we know of has bruises and battle scars, because that's all he's been going through. That's all the suffering he's been pushed through, and one of the main proprietors of that suffering is Bakugo, and Bakugo is the one who's acknowledging everything Midoriya went through, and he's acknowledging his own weaknesses as an individual and his own character growth, his own development, and understanding that he was wrong to be envious of Midoriya. He was wrong. Just because Midoriya was miles ahead of him in different ways than he was doesn't mean that he had to stand away from Midoriya. He didn't have to stand opposite with Midoriya. He now wants to stand alongside him and help him. I think it's beautiful. Like, when we get this panel of just these two people. That's what these two things are, that's what these two characters are. Two people who stood diametrically opposed for one reason or another throughout this entire series up to this point. Even when they worked together, they were against each other in one way, shape, or form. Seeing these two standing in the rain, both hunched over for entirely different reasons that somehow, some way, through Horikoshi's storytelling, managed to connect, that blew my mind away. This flat out maybe one of my favorite, if not my favorite panel in My Hero Academia as a whole, because he says, I'm sorry for everything I've done up until now, and then he straight up admits it, his own understanding. because both Midoriya and Bakugo were raised on the All Might mindset that you have to be your own hero for yourself, by yourself, and you can't accept help. None of that's worth it. You can't be like that because it'll just cause more pain, suffering. You got to make sure you're the best, number one, and number one can be the only hero out there because of the misguided ways of the society. So we do get to see that Bakugo is trying to like foster and help his character development leak onto Midoriya. He's trying to help Midoriya realize that he is not alone. He can rely on others, and Bakugo wants to be one of the others that Midoriya can rely on. That is beautiful. I love that. It's like I've said that Midoriya has been like a stagnant character, and I still think he is up until this point. Until this chapter, I do think if this sticks, Midoriya has finally hit the development point. But I do think that the way that Horikoshi took one of his main characters and has developed them and built them up all this way so they can reach down with their character development and try to pull someone else out of it and pull them out of their character stagnancy to make them grow. I think that is amazing. That is something I could never think of. That is something to you. I know it sounds simple. Well, you use someone else's character development to develop another character, but I never thought of, you give two characters pretty much the exact same backstory, and they're well, not the exact same backstory, but the exact same existence up to a point, the world around them have the exact same values, but leave one stagnant and let the other grow up and have like actual character growth and development, and then have them take that same character growth and development and give it to their other character that's essentially their mirror. That is amazing. That's beautiful. I don't know. That one hit me different. If this has happened before, like, it probably has. It probably has. It's probably isn't special, but to me it is special. God, this is beautiful. And I love how Midoriya is like, he's like, wow. I love how Midoriya acknowledges to a degree everyone else is already way ahead of him, because they have already decided to work together. They have already decided to put past the ways of the old world of only one hero being number one and working together as a unit to be a sort of unified number one hero. I love how he does that. And honestly, like, I read this chapter early in the morning. Like, y'all realize it's hard to make me like cry or get invested in anything. Like, you can probably tell that by how I've had like passive reactions. If you've been around on the channel for a while, you know it's hard to make me like come out of left field and maybe drop a tear. No matter what vulnerable state I'm in, I'll laugh easy, but it's hard for me to like shed a tear, bro. When I saw Midoriya just collapse into Bakugo, bro, a whole tear rolled down my face. I couldn't stop it. That's the thing. Like, usually if I ever am about to have an emotional reaction to something, I can pause it. I can like be like, yo, tear ducts, chill out. But that image broke me. And I think Horikoshi has been like, he's been hammering at that wall. Like, there's some people like me who have been out there and like waiting for that thing that would like push them into My Hero Academia. It wasn't Night Eye's death. It wasn't anything so far up in the narrative. None of that did that. But this image alone of just Bakugo holding Midoriya, and after Midoriya has apologized for calling them weak. It's so good. I really, really appreciate that. Though, Midoriya, while they may be ahead of you character-wise, they're way behind power-wise. Just look at that. They're going to get bought. However, we do get to see that someone brought it up in last week's comment section, and I think they're fantastic for it, because this chapter brings it up too. They want to not necessarily fight all for one. They still are going to leave that to Midoriya, but they do want to help him against the regular villains. And that is something that they can manage, and that I think is good. As long as Midoriya's rested up for all for one, then I think this is manageable. For some reason, I was an idiot. I'll straight up admit I was wrong. I was stupid. But that's the thing. For some reason in my head, I was like, they want to fight all for one alongside Midoriya. No, they don't. They want to fight the villains that they can handle, while Midoriya takes care of the big bad. And I think that makes way more sense. That makes me way happier. And that makes me better understand their purpose in the narrative now. And I think that's great. Horikoshi, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, bro. At every point I took off because I didn't think the students' plans make sense, I take it back. I take it back. And then we get to see Uraraka is happy. Well, not necessarily happy. She's lukewarm on the idea that she couldn't bring Midoriya back. And like, or at least that's what I interpret it as, at least by the look on her face in this panel, because she does not look happy. Like, this should be something that they should all be like screaming in joy for, because like they got Midoriya back. At least that's what it seems like. But no, she's just standing there with a flat look on her face. And now I'll give Momo credit. She's like, well, we got that out of the way.
time to get wrecked everywhere else. And Uraraka's like, yeah. And then we get back. Yo, we get to see 13's face. Like, that was something I had thought about for a while, like way back, but it had left my mind. And all right, all you 13 boys, go wild, go dumb, go stupid. This is probably someone's type, not mine, but y'all go wild. However, we do get to see that Midoriya is back at UA, and we get to see that the situation of all the vigilante civilians is dying down. Not everyone's built different, essentially, because they're all coming to UA now as this sort of safe haven. And we get to see the UA security barrier is up. It is this massive tank-like building, and I can kind of see it. I can kind of see, maybe, I'm not sure, but the way that they hype up the UA security barrier and the way that it's shaped, it could hypothetically lift off the ground. Because while it looks heavy and big, it doesn't look rooted to anything. And the only way to stop Shigaraki, or at least stop him from GG, end of all things, just touching the ground, or I guess All For One, since All For One's in control right now, touching the ground from 15 miles away and destroying the entire city, and destroying UA in the process, the only way to do that is to lift UA off the ground so it doesn't have to interact with this quirk. Sure, you can still easily make the argument that Shigaraki can just standing jump directly onto UA, slap that bad boy up, and then like moonwalk away, because Shigaraki can very easily do that. But still, in terms of just like an instant defense, like reaction to someone of Shigaraki's caliber with Shigaraki's abilities, that is good. I think the ability to lift off the ground could be good. We don't know it can do that, but it looks like a little like bottom half of a rocket, at least to me. However, this means it's super overcrowded, and we get to see, the interesting thing is Midoriya is like, he's agreed to take their help, kind of like, he even apologized for saying they're way behind him, but he still is like, I don't think I can go back still. And he thinks about it for a logical reason that we immediately get to see, and I like that. Oh, also we get a mention of Shiketsu. And I don't know, like, I always forget Shiketsu and other hero schools even exist. But yeah, that's cool. But regardless of that, we get to see Midoriya, like, he wants to help out Class 1A, but he thinks, I love how Horikoshi is, like, finally allowing Midoriya to be right on a lot of his predictions, or, like, his logical thought. Because the thing is, I always explain I had this problem with Midoriya. His thinking had never been, like, it had always been a focal point of his character, but it never was like truly addressed as a focal point of his character. It was always just like a little thing he did on the side. It was like a much more a character quirk rather than a character reality that interacted truly with the world. And seeing him be right about not being able to go back to UA for completely different reasons than you think. It's not that he's being stubborn anymore. It's just that the civilians wouldn't want him there, because I guess they can tell, or they can make a guess. I'm not sure how this rumor got around. I'm not even sure how they figured it out, but let's just say they got the leak because somehow information leaked. Obviously, a whole bunch of heroes are portraying, and heroes were probably informing the whole Midoriya situation. So the thing is, they don't want Midoriya back there, because that just means they're all for one bait. But once again, I feel like people are sort of failing to realize is that you're bait regardless of whether Midoriya is there or not. I know you have faith in this building, and a lot of you probably don't know about Shigaraki's tendencies. I bet all these random civilians have no clue about what Shigaraki can do. But even still, you want Midoriya out in the world. The only person who could well, I guess that's smart on Horikoshi's part, because they wouldn't know that. But Midoriya is the only one who could hypothetically even rival, I'm not saying stop, I mean rival, a fully controlled Shigaraki. I mean, they're a hostage situation regardless, but that's not their fault for not knowing that. That's me as a reader having more information than them, and thusly I'm disagreeing with their perspective. Well, but the thing is, I disagree and agree, because I get why they wouldn't want him there, but at the same time, I could see why they'd want him there. Because if All For One gets Midoriya, or Midoriya is there and he's ready to defend y'all, you have a defender, because no one else here could really defend you. Like, we see President Mike here using a microphone. I mean, I guess maybe his quirk is too loud, but it's kind of weird seeing President Mike hold a microphone. But regardless of that, we do get to see that the civilians are like, be gone, Midoriya? What was I going to say there? But we get to see that they just don't want him. And for logical enough reasons. On their logic, All For One shows up. Oh no. But then we get to see that Uraraka has finally decided to step up. And, she's going to tell the people to shut up and let Midoriya be there. Or maybe she's going to explain the situation in a way that they can understand. Either one works. But that's interesting. I hope Uraraka, like, I've sort of It's weird to say I've given up hope. No, I haven't given up hope. I still think Uraraka can become a better overall character. No, I don't think she's bad. Yes. But I think she's getting a little bit better. I think she's getting a little bit better. I like her moment with Endeavor. I hope she has a good moment here. And she's gonna start building her way up. She has a lot of digging to do because she's dug herself a very deep hole. She has a lot of climbing to do because she dug herself a hole, hopped in, but she's slowly climbing out of there. So I do have faith in Uraraka. She needs to hurry up and get them feelings confessed though. Like, go ahead, just end it. Horikoshi, we know it's endgame. We know. So stop playing us like Avengers and making us wait years for it. Let's go. Let's just get it done with. However, that's it. That's the chapter. I really do love this chapter. Easy, like, I feel like I gave last week's chapter. Am I thinking of, no, I gave 4 nights an 11 out of 10 this week. Last week's chapter, I think I gave it 10 out of 10. I'm just going to give this another beefy 10 out of 10. Honestly, no, this one made me cry. 11 out of 10. This one gets it. Any chapter in my mind that evokes a physical, emotional reaction out of me instantly gets the cool 11 out of 10. Like, even if the rest of the chapter is awful, but which this one isn't. This one's still amazing on all fronts, except like the minor coincidences and stuff like that, and some lacking reactions. Regardless of that, this chapter, easy 11 out of 10. Schmacking. But what do you guys think? Please tell me in the comment section down below. What I think is going to happen next chapter? Uraraka talks to the civilians. But also, weird thing, I guess All Might's car was just driving to UA? It wasn't driving to where they were at? Kind of weird. I guess it was just like a red herring, or maybe not. Maybe Stain is in there. I don't really know. Because we got all those shots of the car, and they kept getting bigger and bigger. Like All Might was gonna be like the final factor to pop out the car and be like, "Hey, yo, Midoriya, come back home. I'm sorry." But I guess not. Maybe he is just driving to UA. Hold on, let me scan through the chapter real quick. Do I see the car anywhere? I do not. But I'm stupid, so I probably missed it. If y'all see the car in this chapter, tell your boy, get some information to him. Thank you. But that's my thoughts on the chapter. Other than that, I don't think much complex is gonna happen next chapter unless All For One literally like walks up behind them and is like, "Yo, that's a nice security barrier you got there, buddies. That's crazy, dog. Oh, hey, Midoriya." Let me slide that quiet real quick. Let's see it real quick. Come here, boy. Ew, All For One's like over 100 years old. But regardless of that, those are my thoughts. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is that guy with the pencil, writing off.